Hi, it's Chris. I go by the artist name of Charlotte. Welcome to the channel. I'm super grateful to have you here today and I hope to earn your subscription. I'll be posting a video once a week where we'll cover all aspects of music production, so if that's something you're interested in, please join us. This is part 2 of a series where I recreate my track Leave. It's out on Sam Paganini's label Jam. Last week we covered the low end and this week we're going to do the hats, the atmosphere and the percussion. If you haven't seen last week's episode, I'll put a link in the description. So we have a ton of stuff to do this week, so let's just get straight into it. Okay, so like I said, we have a lot to do this week. I want to basically create everything you see here. Now again, I don't really know how I created the originals. Everything's been recorded into audio. That's sort of my process. So let's give a quick playthrough of what we did last week, which was the lows. I'll play this stuff, and then we'll get on with recreating stuff. So this is what we made last week. And then this is what we're going to create today. Cool. So first, let's start off with the hats. So let's do the original. I've got the samples from the original stuff. Then let's add in some drum machines from Ableton and let's get a bit creative and see if we can create something a little bit better. So first, like I said, let's do the original. So in the original hats, I've got just one single closed hat. I've got a loop, which is a closed hat loop. I've got a open hat loop, and I've got a ride. So let's do that. So firstly, let's do the closed hat. So for this, the sample is called Black Hole. It's in Ableton, if you look in your samples. I think it's that closed hat there. Let's add that in. So I'm just going to go on the offbeat in between the kick. So this is where the kick starts. So right there is the hat. That's where the hat lives. Cool. Next we've got the hat loop. So like I said, I've got the samples here. Let me just find them. Cool. So for the closed hat, the original, I've got this little rim. And then this hat. Let's add that into a drum rack. The drum rack is in the Instruments tab on Ableton. So we got the rim. Just going to put 4 down like this. I'm going to put the hat on top like that. And then with these, I'm just going to bring the velocity way down. Let's just see what this sounds like. That's pan to the right, so I'm going to pan this a bit to the left. Cool, so that sounds fine for me. So let's label this closed hat loop. Label this closed hat. And let's add in the open hat loop, which is, so we'll add another drum rack. Go back to the samples. That's the open hat. It's got the shaker. And then we've got the hat. So again, I'm just putting the shaker on the 16th. I'm adjusting the velocity to add some groove. And then the hat just sits on the... So again, obviously I'm layering the hat here. This won't all play at once. Well, it will, but the hat will come in to add some energy to the track. The open hat will. Let's see this. It's a bit quiet. Nice. That's the open hat. So that's the original. So let's just keep that. So we'll group that. Original hat. Now let's create something different. So I'm going to add some drum machines from Ableton. So if you go into your packs and then core library, racks, drum machines, you'll find all the sort of classic drum. You'll find all the classic drum machines in here. So let's add 3. Let's do 4. Let's add the 606. $707, 808, and of course the 909. Cool. So let's see what we've got here. Turn this off. I press this headphone button and then I can hear the samples in here. So again, these are just loaded into a rack here. It's a pre-made rack from Ableton. I like that. Let's use this hat and let's add a shaker in. Actually, what I'm going to do is keep this as the closed hat, and then make this the shaker. Now, usually I do this. I've got an analog rhythm here, so usually I just make this on the analog rhythm and get involved. Obviously, to do this for the tutorial, we're doing it through Ableton. The drum machines in Ableton are fantastic. They sound great. I highly recommend using them. Let's just hear what this sounds like now. So for a closed hat, I don't particularly like that. Let's move this over to the 808. Closed hat on the 808. This always works for a closed hat. So let's use this one. To get rid of that, and then let's add an open hat sort of shaker type thing. So close this. So again, knock these down, create some groove. And this will be choking each other. So I'm not 100% sure how to turn the choke off. Choke is basically they won't play both at the same time. So what we'll do is we'll just duplicate this. That's the open hat shaker. So with this, just gonna pull the decay right back. Not sure about that. Let's hear this. Yeah, so let's just use the original hi-hat, the open hat, sorry. Delete this. So here we've got the 808 closed hat. We've got a 606 shaker, which is a closed hat shaker. And then what I'm also going to do is take this, not this one, this one. Going to get rid of this hat. And I'm going to use this because this has got a little bit of atmosphere behind it as well. Cool, so that's the hat. Let's group this. Now, in terms of EQing, I know we didn't really EQ any of this last week as well. I generally do that in mixdown. When I'm creating a track, I just want to create it. I don't really want to mess about with EQs and stuff. Generally, what I will do, I'll just give you a brief sort of rundown on what I do with the EQs. So anything sort of bass related, I tend to use equilibrium. For some reason, it just works better on bass. And then for balancing stuff and making room for stuff, I'll use the Q3 from FabFilter. And I'll show you why in a second. And then I also use this, it's called Track Spacer. This is mainly for leads, for frequencies that are clashing. So I'll show you how to use all of this, as we go along. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to EQ this bass that we did last week. Let's put the analyzer on. So the bass is hitting there. So what's that? So 141. So I'm going to cut out everything before 141. Sub bass. Let's just add an equilibrium on here. So 69, I'm going to cut out everything before that. Perfect. So now these are EQ'd basically. They're not clashing with each other. They're on separate wavelengths. the sub bass you won't hear unless you're on headphones, but the perc bass you should pick up on laptop speakers, and that's what it's there for. Basically, is to add a little bit of low end when it's on a mono sound system, or you're not on a club speakers, basically. So that's that. That's the EQing, and then when I EQ hats, what I'll do is I'll add the Pro Q3. I'll label it. So this is the closed hat. So if you go down here to this section, it's it's an analyzer. You can basically bring in other channels, other EQs that are sat in the mix. So I'll show you what I mean. So this is the closed hat. I'm just going to copy this across all the channels. I'm going to close that shaker. The open hat. Sorry, I'm going to rename this. So shaker left, shaker right, put these close together. Cool. Shaker left, shaker right. Let's rename this. Okay, cool. So we've got those on every channel. When I'm EQing hats, generally what I'm trying to do is just figure out what needs the most space. So in this case, it's going to be this hi-hat, this closed hat. So I'm going to go onto this shaker here because this is the loudest. So if you go down here, this will basically, you'll see, but if I click closed hat and play, the red graph in the back is the closed hat, and then this purple one in the forefront, that's the shaker that we're on. So obviously we can see there's clashing frequencies there, so I'm just going to EQ that out a little bit. And then I'm just going to cut right around there. Just going to take away the really lows there. So that's the EQing on the left shaker. Do this right one. So again, flashing just there. Okay, cool. And then we've got the open hat. So let's see the EQing on this. Okay, so that's fine. I'm going to turn this down a couple of dB. Okay, so they sound fine. Let's just move on to the percussion. So in the original, we've got this. Not 100% sure how that was created, but I do know what I usually use for percussion. This has some nice percussion in it. So this is Audio Nifonium. It's from Plugin Alliance. So let's just add this. We'll just do 16s. So again, on the 16th notes, plug this in. And let's just add some EQ for this. So I'll just use the Ableton stuff. That's fine. Probably need a couple of these. Let's duplicate it one more, and we'll add pigments because they've got some good percussion sounds as well. Add pigments on here. Okay, cool. And I'm also just going to add an Echo Boy. So the Echo Boy is from Soundtoys. Amazing plugins. You can get them on Splice. I think you can get them on a subscription as well. I've had these years. And I'm just going to turn this way down. Turn the feedback up. Copy this across all the channels. In terms of reverb, I don't use reverb in the project. I send everything to a return, but I'll show you that later. Sounds fine. Try another one. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I'm not sure about this one. Just going to do is record these two into an audio channel. Put it on resampling. Now we've got this. And a little trick to bring back the decay. If you go over to this section here and you put this on this setting and then mess with this, this will bring back the sort of the release of the sound. So it tightens it up. So this. Okay, that sounds fine. So I'm just going to delete these. Keep this as the percussion. Okay, cool. And what else have we got here? We got a ride. Let's do a ride. So for the ride, again, I'd be using the analog rhythm, and actually for the percussion, I'd usually use the analog rhythm as well. But let's use a 909. The 909 from Ableton is the ride is fantastic. So let's grab that. So it's going to be Impact 909 from Machines. Load that in. Color this the hat color, which is blue for me. Put this like this. I'm just going to mess with these things, with the gains and stuff, and see if we can get something that fits nice. Okay, I like that. What I'm going to do is add, so I've created this rack here. So I'll put it on and I'll explain what it is. So it's a rack. So one of them is completely blank. So it's got nothing on it. And then the other one has this BX stereo maker. Now the drum machines from Ableton are always in mono. So we can't see this here. So I put this analyzer on. This shows the, you can see it's completely mono. Once I add this rack, it creates some width to the sound. The reason I've got it in a chain is because if you just have it on its own, the stereo maker, it's a bit too wide. It loses a bit of its body. So I put it in this chain and then sounds nicer. And then for the stereo maker, it's literally just the default setting. So if I look for it here, again, it's another plugin alliance plugin. So BX Stereo Maker. So I don't touch it. I literally just use the default setting. So I've got one without it and then one with. For this, I'm also going to add a auto pan from Ableton. I'm going to put it on slightly, just like that. And the rate down a little bit. Cool, sounds good. Let's label this ride. And we'll throw this in the hats. Now we have these atmospheres. So let's check this out. So this is just some noise. We have this sort of pluck. So let's recreate those. So I think for the noise, I'm going to use Massive X. If I remember rightly, there's quite a nice noise in here. What I'm going to do is put this at about, yeah, just there. I'm going to shorten this. I'm going to make a bit of a chord. That's really nice. Maybe we could use this. Pick up the rest. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I've obviously recorded the Massive, so I've added an audio track, I've armed it, I've selected the source, which is Massive, and now I've just looped this a little bit. And what I'm going to do is just add an auto filter. Yeah, I like that. So that's really more of the pluck atmosphere, kind of. Anyways, it's nice, so let's just keep it. But this is, I don't know, it sounds like crickets, to be honest. Crickets Atmos. And then let's just also turn that off. Okay, so next let's just add in the noise. So I'm just going to use operator, keep it simple. So operators in your instruments, grab that. Put it way up. Change this to noise. And then I am going to add reverb on this. So I'll just use the Ableton one. Turn this way to turn all this off. Turn the decay up. Turn the spread up. Just going to fill in the background. And let's again add an auto filter. And we're going to add another auto filter and an LFO. The wrong thing. And for this LFO, we're going to put it on a very slow rate. We're going to map it to this, to the frequency. And we're just going to have it going up and down slightly, just to create some movement in the background. Let's also add a auto pan. Well, let's just pan this way out and have it moving slowly. You can hear it just in the back. Okay, cool. And I'm actually just going to take away the really high end on this. Okay, cool. So that's that. That's the noise. Now we have this break sweep. So this comes in on the drop and a few other times throughout the track. Sounds like this. So it's kind of like a string. So for this, I'm going to use Analog Lab. Analog Lab have amazing sort of Atmos sounds. Let's add this in. Analog Lab. Now in here, so this is a range of sounds from all the different V Collection stuff. I've gone through a load of presets and I've basically categorized them. That's what I like about this. You can categorize them. So I've got all these different sort of sections or categories that I put stuff in. So there's weird stuff in the Atmos stuff. So let's see this. And I'm just going to add also to create dissonance in a techno track. It's always nice to have. So let's say it's always nice to go 6 above. What I mean by that is, so let's say that you're going for an F sharp. Always add a note six notes above. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'll be on the C. So F sharp and C, and that'll create this dissonance sound. So I'll show you. So if I take the higher note out, it still sounds nice, but it doesn't have the dissonance to it. let's just add this. And again, we're going to add an auto filter. Take away the... I'm going to put this on OSR and then just drive it a little bit through the filter. Add a compressor, because the set is going to be all over the place. Okay, cool. And let's pick a different preset here. Okay, let's use this one for now. We can change it later. So let's just have that as break sweep, and we'll use that in the arrangement. So for now, it's just going to stay off. And then finally, we have this. Now, I have literally no idea how this was made. So I'm actually just going to drop this in the... I'm going to make this available. I'm just going to make this available as a download. So check in the description and you can download this wavetable setting with all these plugins. What I'll do is I'll take off the stuff that you might not have. So all of these extra plugins I'll take off. But yeah, you can just see there's a ton of processing on here. So to try and recreate this, it would take me, I don't know, an hour and a half. So I'll just include this. And what this does is it just adds, well, let's hear it. So again, it's another atmosphere type sound, but it will come in, you know, it just adds some variation. So I'll add this in straight away. And again, that will play in and out throughout the track. Okay, cool. So let's hear what we've done. So this is the original. And then this is the new stuff. We will change that in the next video, to be honest. I'm not too happy with it. So that's it for today. I hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Please leave a like and leave a comment, tell me what you want to see on the channel, or if I didn't explain anything properly, please let me know. I will try and read and reply to all the comments. In the next video, we're going to cover the leads, some effects, and hopefully most of the arrangement. We'll see how we get on for time. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.